All right, good morning, people. So, double digits, day 10 of the love vibration. We made it to double digits. All right. So today, I talked about it earlier, but I didn't elaborate. But I want to talk about the stages of change, which is if you're trying to make any change whatsoever, you go through different stages, and I'll just list them real quick. So, and then I'll go into it a little bit. So there's pre-contemplation, contemplation, preparation, action, maintenance. Those are pretty much it. Pretty much. Now, okay, so let's start at the beginning. The first stage of change that we all go through is the initial one, which is pre-contemplation. That means you don't recognize any problem whatsoever. You're like, I don't need to change, ain't nothing wrong. Pre-contemplation. You're not contemplating making a change, you're just like, there's no reason to change. So, that's kind of where we all start, we don't recognize it yet. So, contemplation, that is where we recognize, hey, this behavior of mine or whatever is causing disruption. Maybe I should change. I feel like there's a problem there. I should change. You're contemplating. You're like, you recognize something's going on and probably can't go on like this forever. If I do, it's just going to keep causing me issues. So, contemplation. So, after that, and you're ready to move forward a little bit, you come to, brain work. So then you come to preparation. So this is where, you start thinking about it. You're, okay, I need to change, but what do I do? How do I do that? This is where the wheels start turning and, you start making plans. You're preparing, with the help of others, yourself, your own brainstorming, whatever resources you have available. You're searching the internet. You're saying, hey, chat GPT, how do I change my life? That's what we do nowadays. Unfortunately, it's kind of ridiculous, but actually, it could come in handy as a tool. But anyways, all right, so pre-contemplation, contemplation, preparation, action. So the next stage is the action stage, which is where I currently am as far as, changing my negative mindset around. I am actively doing the steps that I contemplated about, that I prepared for. I'll go into that, how it came to be. But action is where you take action, You put your plans into place and you start doing it. You start making that change. And then, after action, after you've been doing it, maintenance, you just maintain the change that you made. I feel like a good rule of thumb is like give yourself a year to see, how real it is. If you could make it a year with the changes that you've tried to make, I'd say, you're pretty much maintaining at that point, which is the goal. Get to maintenance, make it just your life, So this relates to anything, sobriety, if you're trying to be sober, or just making like any sort of change whatsoever. In my case, this personal one for me is, changing my negative thoughts and reprogramming my mind to, be a, think positively instead of always, negatively. We're changing that, being in a higher vibration overall. Those are the changes I've made. Now, my journey, pre-contemplation, before I ever known there was a change, growing up, I didn't realize that was my issue, I had been very negative since the start, pretty much, almost since the start of my life. And, I thought, that was just me, and I have reasons to be negative, it makes sense to me, people didn't treat me well, so of course I'm just gonna be negative about it, and blah, blah, blah. So that's growing up. And, my life was ridiculous, up and down my whole life. So I knew, I don't remember exactly when I went from pre-contemplation to contemplation. Probably, I would say in my late 20s, around 2012 or something like that. That's when I really started waking up and wanted to try to start bettering myself. You know, I started listening to like Ralph Smart and stuff like that. And, you know, I knew I was trying to become a better version of myself. Like I would fantasize, like, if I died and went to heaven, what would my perfect self be like? So, you know, I started, you know, thinking about stuff like that and, you know, really trying to envision how I wanted to be compared to where I was. So that's late 20s. I would say that was the start of my contemplation. Preparation, you know, I guess I kind of just dove into action and preparation almost simultaneously. You know, I didn't want to wait to act at that point. Once I really realized that, you know, change was possible and, you know, I needed to change, I kind of just started doing stuff like, you know, watching tons of videos. That helped me out a lot because I felt lost in my late 20s when I started going through my first spiritual awakening, or whatever you want to call it, just awakening. At that time, I didn't know of any YouTubers talking about it. I had to find all these people, and for a while I was lost, but that's kind of getting off topic. That's for another video. But so yeah, action. I started, you know, trying just to be more positive. At that time, I thought marijuana was like the absolute answer to everything because I would smoke it and then get in that high vibration of love and love everyone. But when I wasn't on it, I was back to my negative self. So I thought, oh, if I just, you know, smoke this 24/7, all is better. Doesn't really work that way, but at the time I thought it did. So, you know, I'm taking action, but I never got to maintenance because my life was still up and down. You know, I connected with love and I knew what it felt like to be how I wanted to be, but I couldn't keep it. So over the years, up and down, you know, taking action, sometimes bouncing all the way back to contemplation, because here's the thing, if you so-called relapse and go back to your old ways, you don't go to pre-contemplation anymore. Those days are over. You recognize that a change needed to be made, and you can't go back to saying, no, nothing needs to change. So you go back to contemplation. You know, you go from action or maintenance to contemplation. You know, you're no longer in the action stage. Now you're like, okay, you're at a crossroads again. You're like, all right, do I go back on that path I was on, or do I say screw it, you know? But you're never at the point where you're like, should I change? You know, you gotta change at that point. So now, let's see. In this most recent event, I was in the contemplation stage. You know, I lost this version of myself completely. You know, everything sucked. You know, going to work sucks. Life is torture. Blah blah blah. You know, that's how I'm thinking. And something snapped me out of it, and it was kind of weird what snapped me out of it. The end of my most recent relationship was bad. And that's, you know, what I was blaming for my whole like screw it attitude. I'm just like, yeah, life just sucks. I'm still the same person I always was. You know, I thought I was better, but you know, this relationship showed me that I still got all that, you know, nasty stuff in me. So I'm like great. I feel like I'm at square one again. So there's that. And okay, this is kind of silly, but this is actually what happened. So I got this small crush on this person that works at somewhere. Let's just say that I have a crush on this girl, and I actually like her. You know, I'm not just talking about like I'm sexualizing her. Like I think she's really awesome, and so in my mind, going full on, you know, fantasy. Like pretending, you know, what would it be like if we actually, you know, like dated or this and that. And it made me want to be a better person. I'm like, listen, if I'm going to be with someone that I, you know, really into, I can't be how I've been. So, you know, I want to be a way better version of how I've been. So that kind of snapped me back into the preparation stage, I would say. Yeah, it made me want to prepare to be better. And I'm going to disclose something. So I've been sober for a long time, over 6 years, but I started using something again. I haven't drank alcohol, but I started using, I'll just say it, it was Kratom, a legal thing you could just buy. It's not legal where I'm at anymore, but it was. But you know, it's easy to find. And I was using that, and literally, I had an epiphany. I was watching the Prince EA video about how to like reprogram your mind, and I'm just like, listen, I need to change. And I threw that stuff away right then and there and didn't look back, you know, because it wasn't helping me. It wasn't like, it was hurting me. I felt like crap about doing it. You know, it has very little reward. It doesn't even do much to you. Like when you take it, like you don't get like super high or anything from it. But when you stop taking it, you feel terrible. So, you know, I sucked it up, went through the hell, you know, didn't have that bad withdrawals because I wasn't, you know, going crazy with it, but I did start doing it again. So, you know, that was the first thing. That was action right then and there, you know, like instant. You know, that's the thing with me personally. I take action. Like when I'm inspired, you know, yes, I prepare, but also at the same time, I'm doing what I can at the moment. Certain things you do have to prepare for before you take the action. But so yeah, it started with this crush and knowing that, you know, I still had my old ways in me. So, and in that same video I talked about with Prince E, I don't know exactly how to say his name. I'll link it in the description. But yeah, he started talking about reprogramming your mind with the affirmations and everything. And right then and there, it clicked. I was like, you're right. I've been programmed, you know, over the years of life, you know, without realizing it, been programmed to think negatively. So what's it gonna take to undo that? And, you know, he's talking about doing the daily affirmations. You know, you just gotta retrain how you're thinking. So I was like, I'm on board with this. Like immediately it just made sense because like, you know, he's so full of wisdom. He's awesome. Check out all his stuff. But so I wrote down my first affirmation and it telling myself I'm killing it, you know, meaning I'm doing so well, you know, especially compared to how I used to be. So, you know, I started telling myself that, and then more came. You know, I'm visualizing, how do I want to be? You know, I'm this way currently, how do I want to be? And so, you know, I'm a confident person, I'm this and that. I started telling myself all this every single morning. And, you know, so that's, you know, me just jumping right into the action stage, you know. So it started contemplation, you know, I need to change. And then, you know, something sparked it, the crush, wanting to do better. And at the same time, that Prince EA video came out, and it's like everything just started aligning. You know, I was in the vibration to watch that video. Because here's the thing, when I'm doing like really bad, you know, just negative, I don't want to watch stuff that's going to uplift me. You know, I don't resonate with it. So, but fortunately, since I was feeling like, hey, I need to change, that video came right on time, and right on time for me to want to watch it. And man, did it hit. It hit. So the thing about change is you can't just do it. You know, you have to go through these stages. And, you know, so you can't really tell anyone, hey, just do this, because they might not be there at all. They might not even recognize there's a problem. They might be in contemplation. Or, you know, they might not be in preparation yet. They might recognize a change, but they have no idea how to go about doing it. And so it's just something to be aware of. I'm aware of it. You know, since I'm in the action stage of change, you know, I feel like various people might connect to what I'm talking about. You know, maybe if you're contemplation, you know, you're not gonna listen to anything I gotta say, but maybe you're thinking about it and you see me doing it and you're like, okay, this guy's doing it, why can't I do it? You know, seriously, I'm just a person. I'm no guru or spiritual master or nothing like that. I'm just a guy who, you know, recognized there needs to be a change, and I'm doing it. And yeah, one of my commitments was doing this. Yeah, I randomly just started doing this channel 10 days ago. Yeah, this is day 10. And like, I've been doing the affirmations for close to a month now, I want to say. I forget, maybe 3 weeks is when that video came out, that you're going to go check out in the description. But anyway, yeah, stages of change. That's the thing, you know, after a year of this, you know, we'll see. I'm so excited. You know, I'm excited just day to day, just seeing what's happening and all the changes that are being made, which are so many changes with my life. Like, and it's little things too. Like, I can't listen to hip hop hardly anymore. Like, I'm a huge Wu-Tang fan and all 90s hip hop, like everything. And, you know, if I put on Ghostface now, I'm like, ugh, I love it so much, but it's like, I'm just not vibing with that, with like the content in there. I've been listening to a lot of reggae, you know, all the Marleys, there's so many of them. Like, you know, just uplifting stuff, because that's how I'm vibrating now. So like low vibration stuff, you know, I hate to say it, because a lot of the music I love is just, you can't lie about it. It's low vibrational stuff, you know? The content they talk about, especially in a lot of hip hop, you know, some of my most beloved music, I really have a hard time listening to now. And yeah, it's little things like that. Like the words I use, like I have a hard time just cussing now. Sometimes I will, but it's not out of anger anymore. It's more out of excitement. Like I'll be like, F yes, that was awesome, instead of like, what the F, you know, like it's a different energy behind the word. Little things like that. But the biggest thing now is, you know, I tell myself, everyone is my brother and sister. And it's so great to just, you know, everyone I see, I just see, you know, brothers, sisters. It's awesome. You know, just literally having that loving connection with everyone. Even though I don't know them, it doesn't matter, because we're all, you know, we're all a tribe. So that's been excellent, especially at work, especially with folks who are harder to love, you know, because it's easy. If you're vibrating on the same high level, it's like, oh, we're getting along, we're having a great time. But it's when, you know, someone negative, or you know, someone with a lower vibration, maybe they're angry or upset or something, or they're just, you know, maybe they seem mean, whatever. Like, those are the people that I used to want to not, you know, associate with at all. But now I love connecting with them, because it's a chance for me to, you know, uplift them, you know, because they need it. They need it probably more than, I don't know, everyone needs it, but you know what I'm saying. You know, people that get cast out, like, yo, those are my people. Know what I'm saying? Like, there's no exception to this rule of loving other people. There's none, zero. You know, even your favorite crooked politician, that's still a person. That's still a little orb made of love in a human body doing stuff. So anyways, I'm just rambling at this point. I'm having a great day already. Went to the park, did a lot of pull-ups. Now just chilling before work. Gonna go home, eat some, what do I got? Turkey burger, rice, scrambled egg. Then I'm gonna go to work. Yeah, life is, I get to go to work because I'm healthy enough to have another day of work. It's incredible. Life is amazingly incredible. And it always was, but now I just could realize it. Amazing stuff going on. Whew. Day 10, love vibration. Yo, go to Oakaleeboo 2, my other channel, for daily affirmations every morning, 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. All right, love you guys so much. All right, take it easy.